Flights for thousands of refugees canceled after an executive order by President Donald Trump.
When we learned the news of the pause, we began to even see in our record keeping that people's flights were being removed.
Those refugees already vetted to enter the U.S.
We had been working hard to prepare for arrivals that were slated to be coming. We had 28 people scheduled for the month of February.
Rabbi Dan Kaiman with the synagogue in Tulsa helps refugees resettle to life in Oklahoma.
The assumption is that those people certainly for now won't be coming.
An executive order looks to review the United States Refugee Admissions Program, pausing all arrivals into the U.S. indefinitely until the program, quote, aligns with the interests of the United States. Another order froze funding for foreign aid, but it also puts resettlement programs like those in Oklahoma in limbo.
They received a stop work order, which means we received a stop work order, which meant that from that moment on, we couldn't rely on the grants that were funding our work.
But the order also puts Afghan refugees, many who fought the Taliban alongside U.S. troops, without a clear path forward. The freeze on foreign aid includes the special immigrant visa program, taking away money for Afghan allies to travel to the U.S.
Big number of these people were interpreters working with Americans, and they were in other capacities who risked their life to help the U.S. mission in Afghanistan.
Dr. Fairez Bashari knows that feeling all too well. He was on the last flight out of Kabul when Afghanistan fell to the Taliban. He worked as a press secretary for the U.S. Embassy.
I would have been, who knows, in prison now, would have been tortured, would have been even killed. I don't know what would have happened to my family.
Bashari says many of those who worked with the U.S. government have received permanent statuses in the U.S., but they still worry for those who haven't made it to safety.
Some of these people have families left behind, their children, their spouses, so they don't know when the reunification process will happen.
But there are also concerns over what an immigration crackdown means for Afghans already living in Oklahoma.
They don't know if they are pulled over by a police or ICE officer, how they are going to explain their status to them. They don't speak English. Even if they speak English, how would they explain what is their status?
After fleeing Kabul, refugees were given a 2-year parole visa, which was renewed in 2023. Bashari says those visas expire this year.
Someone has a pending asylum or a pending green card application, and their current status that they are in is ending soon. So what's going to happen to them? Are they considered undocumented or not?
Vice President J.D. Vance recently spoke about restructuring the vetting process for refugees, pointing to the foiled Election Day terrorist plot by an Afghan national living in Oklahoma City.
Not everyone should be painted with one brush. We have committed people, we have strong people in the community who has lost everything and who have helped the U.S. mission.
Bashari supports efforts to protect U.S. Secretary and says he is committed to working with the Trump administration to help make the country, which is now his country, safer for everyone.
We support the new administration and we are happy to work with them achieve those goals. But there are things that we need to work out so that people's concerns are addressed.
But shining through all the unknowns is gratitude.
I feel like I'm an Oklahoman now. That is a blessing.